Psychology of limitation is this idea where a lack of options actually helps your creative work. You accept these constraints and you discover that you're actually less distracted and you're more focused than you would be if you had all the options, like we usually do. So March 2020 was a time for a lack of options. As a musician, you know, there's no touring, you can't collaborate with anybody, everything is locked down. All you can do is write, and so I wrote. And the more I wrote, the better it got, the more focused it got, probably because it was the only outlet I had. So now I had all this material, what I thought was just wonderful stuff, like I had hit new standards or something for myself, and I didn't know what to do with it. I had no way to record it. There were no studios operating, and I did have a bunch of equipment, but I didn't have a space. I couldn't record in my house because I have little kids. And then one day I go out to do something very ordinary in my garage, and I realize I do have a space. And my immediate reaction was sort of this imposter syndrome, like, that's going to be real professional. Let's track the next record in a garage. So I was struggling with that, and then, as usual, what got me kind of over that hurdle was Tom Petty. I read this article about how he had made an album in a garage in 1989, and he was actually thinking of calling it Songs from the Garage, which is hilarious because I kind of had the same title in mind myself. Anyway, he changed the title to Full Moon Fever. Maybe you've heard of it. So that was really helpful for me. I figured, like, if Petty did it, it can't be that bad. And that was the limitation at work again. You know, normally I would go to a real studio and spend all this money and do it the usual way, and that wasn't an option. My option was this ugly, full-on pedestrian garage full of junk. Got your tools, general mess, boxes. Here we have our environmentally unfriendly lawnmower that actually cuts the grass. So, okay, I accept this mission. You know, the music is bigger. The music will transcend the aesthetics. That's the beauty of music. All that matters is what people are going to hear. They're not going to see anything. They're not going to see the lawnmowers. And I'm amazed it kind of took me 4 months to stumble upon this idea of using the garage as a recording space. I had stumbled over everything else in the garage, and finally I stumbled over the garage itself. So I had a few things going for me. I had the vaulted ceiling, which really helps with recording if you don't have parallel surfaces, like your ceiling is parallel to your floor. Because then the sound waves just bounce back and forth and it just sounds bad. And then I got my hands, this was like a free Craigslist score, I got this enormous fugly rug. It was like 18 by 24 or something, and it was pretty thick. I rolled that out on the floor and hung up some lights, and then the ultimate lemons to lemonade moment was I realized all this junk, all this detritus that had piled up in the garage was actually going to help me to diffuse the sound waves, because you don't want a flat wall in your studio because, again, the sound waves are going to hit it and they're going to slap back and it sounds terrible. What you want are a million little surfaces and a million little angles so that the waves will diffuse. And in real studios, you get the pretty version of that, which is all this gorgeous wood of different lengths. And it looks like this enormous pin art sculpture. And in my studio, you get piles of junk, but they sound the same. So the music I had written was all this weird chamber music. I guess everything I write is a little weird. But it was specifically for string ensembles. So I called up a couple of friends, this monster cellist named Dan Lewan, and a great violinist named Kip Jones, and my personal good luck charm, a guy named Brian Lentz, who engineered my last record. And the four of us just put on our masks, and we got a bunch of coffee and a big pile of baked goods, and we dug in. We did 3 straight mornings in August. We started at 6 a.m. It didn't matter because most of us have little kids anyway, but we had to be out of there by 10 or 10:30 because the garage is not, the studio is not climate controlled, and the temperature would start to make the notes slide around, and it was just stifling. So, we'd work a 4-hour day and we'd be done around brunch. And my wife took a break from work and very graciously watched the kids, and we got it. We made a record. It was this feeling of pulling something off, it's just so crazy, it just might work kind of a thing. It's sort of like you're the hero in your own action movie about a garage. It's highly dramatic, and I'm a dramatic guy, often over-dramatic. But it's one of those things that could have been this colossal failure. And actually, it sounded amazing. I could not believe how good it sounded. And it seems like that's always how these things work. You can do all this planning, or you can spend all this money, and sometimes that'll get you there, but what will really get you there is the right idea. You have this little epiphany, and things just sort of come together, and it's easy. It's hard, but it's easy. The garage ended up being this little island of sanity for me. This place that I could go and pretend that the world didn't exist for a few hours. And that's why I ended up calling it Shelter Island. It was like this little oasis in the chaos of everything that was happening. And I think that every artist needs that. They need this place to escape. They need to dream up different worlds, and then they can write about the worlds and share them with everybody else. And everybody else can escape too. Tony Rice had this phrase, the rigors and dust of everyday life. And he felt like musicians had a chance to take people away from the rigors and the dust of their lives. And Steinbeck called it transport out of the pain of living. And I like that one too, because it's been a painful couple of years for all of us. And I love the idea that I could contribute something that would be healing, that gives people a moment of joy or beauty, kind of lets them climb out of their own lives for a few minutes, 3.5 minutes.